Woodward quotes Biden is calling Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a bad guy, a quote, bad effing guy.
Based, I agree. Now, I personally would not funnel military weaponry to someone who's a really bad guy, but Biden has continued to do that. Now, those revelations that you just heard from CNN come from Bob Woodward's latest book, War, which gives you an inside look into the Biden administration. And it turns out that Biden allegedly despises the very man that he is aiding and abetting in a broader regional war in the Middle East as we speak. Let's hear more about that.
Bring us into the scene when Biden boils over with anger against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right, so there are actually a lot of these scenes. So publicly, of course, we know President Biden has been a staunch ally of Israel, standing behind Israel. But you really see how after October 7th, as the war in Gaza escalated, intensified, Biden loses his temper. He says he's furious with Netanyahu, and he says to an aide, quote, that son of a, you can read it on there, Bibi Netanyahu, he's a bad guy, he's a bad effing guy. He doesn't give a about Hamas, he gives a blank only about himself. He's an effing liar. 18 out of 19 people who work for him are effing liars.
So look, it's so frustrating how we all know that internally in the Biden White House, this is how Biden actually feels. It's not like this is the first time we've heard about Biden not being happy with Netanyahu. Then why do you keep enabling Netanyahu? Now, some might argue, well, Biden has no say over the way that Israel prosecutes the war in the Middle East. I totally disagree. We fund and provide 90% of their weaponry. Like, come on.
No,
anyway,
yeah, that's so.
It's
look,
such a ridiculous argument.
There's two different components of this portion of the Woodward book. One is the relationship with Israel, and the other is Biden's potentially colossal errors. So I want to come back to that in a second. But on the issue of Israel, so this book does the same thing as far as I can tell, based on the excerpts, because the book hasn't come out yet. We only have seen the excerpts that the media is running. Does the same thing that all mainstream media does. Like, oh my God, the Israelis, golly gee, they frustrate us, and Biden secretly disagrees with them, and so does Kamala Harris, and so does everyone else. And they never talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right? So if you've ever been online, there's this great, ever been online? I've seen this thing online where they ask you to count the number of passes between these players in basketball, and you're concentrating so hard on that, and that you miss later on when you rewatch the video, there's a guy in a gorilla suit that walks by. And so this is Israel, our funding to Israel is the guy walking across the screen with a gorilla outfit, right? We're giving them $26 billion, yet nobody talks about it. They're like, oh golly gee, Biden's so frustrated. But there's nothing he can do. What do you mean there's nothing he could do? He could stop the funding, he could stop the weapons. But to people in Washington, that is unacceptable, sacrosanct, unthinkable. How could you not give Israel everything they have ever demanded? Who would be so insolent as to disagree with our occupiers?
No, look, I get that argument, Cenk, but here's what I don't understand. Okay, Joe Biden's 81 years old, his political career is coming to an end. And I would like to believe that if I spent 50 years of my life kowtowing to people that I despise, right, just to play the game of politics, once I know, my career is wrapping up, I'm gonna go all out. And I'm gonna do what I want. What's gonna happen?
I know what's gonna happen.
Oh, so, he's not gonna get reelected?
No, you're missing it. So I hear you, that's what a decent person do, that's what a strong person would do. But here's what they walk in the room and tell you, which is, and this is not a conspiratorial day, this is just a normal political conversation in DC. They'll say, Mr. President, please, we've got a campaign to run. AIPAC's spending over $100 million in this election. And so we can't have you going out there and endangering the rest of the party for your own personal emotional release. We need this money for Democrats. Otherwise, the Republicans are going to win. You have to do everything that AIPAC tells you to do. Please, Mr. President, this is so important. But besides which, Anna, they don't even bother having those conversations anymore. They used to have those conversations. Now, there's not a single person in the room that objects to anything that's Israel's doing. They all assume they must follow every command of AIPAC. And remember, AIPAC's not just, it's definitely not for Jewish Americans. In fact, they've targeted Jewish Americans like Andy Levin in the past. And it's not even for all Israelis. It's now a right-wing pro-Netanyahu group. So the reason they went after Andy Levin and spent $4 million against him because he dared to say the Palestinians should also have a state. They're like, no, we're gonna take all the land. That's what Netanyahu said. Fire Andy Levin, right? So that's who the thugs at AIPAC are. So everyone in Washington is so scared of them. And remember, Anna, the reason you're not a politician is because you're a person who's strong and brave, et cetera. These politicians are coward servants. They take orders from any donor that comes by. Joe Biden has been a pathetic weakling his whole life. He was known as the senator from MBNA. That was a credit card company. So now, here we go. On Israel, McGurk says, and he's a bad guy, always doing what Israel wants. Biden's Middle East coordinator. He says the Israelis always do this. They claim we got the intel. You'll see it. But like 50% of the time, the so-called intel doesn't actually show up. So even McGurk knows the Israelis are definitely lying whenever they say anything publicly or even privately to the US administration. Blinken thought that Yoav Gallant, who was supposed to be one of the moderates in the cabinet, the defense minister for Israel. Now, this is not Gallant saying it, this is Blinken saying it about Gallant. He says, it doesn't matter how many people die. I have a mission to eradicate Hamas, and it doesn't matter how many Palestinians die. It doesn't matter how many Israelis die.
Ugh, it's so disgusting.
So that's what Blinken.
So disgusting. I can't. Ugh.
That's what Blinken thinks Gallant thinks. But Blinken tells Biden, we must follow their orders. Please send him the $26 billion right away.
They don't care about anyone's lives, okay?
Nothing.
Doesn't matter what the identity is, man. I mean, here you have it.
Okay,
all right.
And last two things on Israel. Biden complained that Netanyahu was a liar, as Anna told you. And he said 18 out of 19 people who work for Netanyahu are liars. So he knows that Israel's lying every time. Then he comes out here like a dog publicly and goes, oh, we trust our beloved special ally Israel. How about Kamala Harris? She had a pleasant conversation with Netanyahu, of course. And then she came out, this was a while back, and said she would not be silent about Palestinian suffering. And the Washington Post and Bob Woodward and everybody writes this as this infuriated Netanyahu. And it's almost like it's a mark against Kamala Harris. You've angered the dear leader of the planet. How could you, Kamala Harris? But okay, now I want to move to the more important things about Biden bungling things. There should be giant national stories today. It's startling that reporters can read this and not think that they're huge. So, all right, number one, when talking to the Russians or about the Russians and the potential invasion of Ukraine, Biden accidentally said it could be just a minor incursion. That's really bad. That's like when our ambassador went to Saddam Hussein before the first Persian Gulf War, before he invaded Kuwait, and accidentally seemed to give, well, if it was an accident, but they say officially accidentally gave him a green light on attacking Kuwait, and then he attacked Kuwait. So when Biden said it would just be a minor incursion, it made it seem like it was no big deal, and encouraged Russia to go in, and then they had to do damage control, etc. Why did he say that? That is not Biden's position, let alone the US government's position. Because guys, he's been in mental decline the whole time. Yeah. That's why he says things that don't make any sense, and they had to kind of rewind his talking points all the time. That should be the biggest story out of the whole Woodward thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah, but Woodward says, overall Biden had steady and purposeful leadership. I don't think that's true at all. He's just prettying up the stories that he has here. He had an interesting story about how Zelensky didn't believe our warnings that Russia was going to invade. That's a giant story. And then one more for you guys that's really important. Oh, by the way, Lindsey Graham said going to Mar-a-Lago was like going to North Korea. Everybody stands up and applauds every time Trump walks in. And then remember, Trump said he likes that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. And then the last thing is, apparently Biden said, I should have never picked Garland for his attorney general. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. I don't like Garland. Garland started those prosecutions way too late. Should have started them earlier, weak, ineffectual. Is that what he's talking about? I read further, no, because he went after Hunter Biden. Wait a minute, that's just like Trump saying,
yeah,
I don't like Sessions. I'm very disappointed in my attorney general. He's supposed to represent me. No, he's supposed to represent the people of the United States. And everybody piled on, including me, for Donald Trump saying that about Sessions and not understanding that the attorney general doesn't work for you. Now Joe Biden says the same thing in an effort to protect his corrupt son, and nobody makes a big deal out of it?
Cenk, are you finally seeing what I've been trying to say, right? That
What's
there's
that?
Look, that there's different treatment depending on who's being targeted in the press. So it's not necessarily that legacy media or mainstream media is just flat out fabricating things or making up stories. It's that they omit certain details to the story. So what it does is it gives you the perception that Donald Trump in certain ways is like a unique kind of evil. And look, when it comes to trying to interfere with the election and overturn the election, that is very bad, okay? I am not in any way justifying that, and I have not seen that on the Democratic side. However, a lot of the behaviors that Trump got criticized for are also being practiced by leadership and figures on the left or in the Democratic Party, and that never gets reported.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't get any attention, and it frustrates me. So
ahead. Anna, do I see that? I've been saying that for 20 years. So it's not just the omissions, it's the point of emphasis. So this book has significantly negative things about Trump and significantly negative things about Biden. I would argue, and I just did argue, that the negative things about Biden actually are worse than the ones about Trump in this particular book,
yeah.
right? And so I see that 100%, but two, even three things can be true at the same time. So number one, is the press easier on the Democrats than the Republicans? Definitely, right? So number two, do the Democrats and the Republicans often do the same exact thing, and the Republicans are painted as the bad guys, but the Democrats weirdly are painted as the good guys? Definitely true. We can show you dozens of examples when they agree on serving their donors, but Democrats are painted in a positive light for serving their donors, and the Republicans are painted in a negative light. Those are true. But it's also true that Trump is unique. Biden, for all of his terrible actions, and I could tell you all the criticism we did of Obama when he was in charge, and of Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, etc. None of them tried to do a coup against America. If you're a Republican, you're gonna catch feelings no matter what. But the brother wouldn't use his real electors because they wouldn't agree to an illegal coup against America. He created fake electors to try to steal the 2020 election. And he's unique in his insanity. Like, no one else thinks, hey, maybe we shoot protesters in the leg and we use the US military to do that. Maybe the Second Amendment guys can take out Hillary Clinton's judges. These are not normal things that even bad, corrupt politicians say.
I mean,
he's extraordinarily weird, stupid, most importantly, dangerous.
I want to wait and see what the behind the scenes conversations were in regard to Palestinian protesters on college campuses, within the Biden White House. But for now, I'll leave it there.
Okay, I mean, I hear you, but again, Biden didn't try a coup. None of these guys did. When they lock up the Palestinian peace protesters, all of the mainstream media lies and goes along with it, does giant propaganda. We fight against it, okay? But don't tell me that you're gonna shoot Black Lives Matter protesters in the leg and use the US military to do it and pretend it's normal. It's not. Imagine if Biden said,
no,
well, maybe let's shoot
ridiculous.
some right-wing protesters. Oh, they're protesting me? Why don't we just bring in the military to shoot them? You'd lose your mind, wouldn't you, if you're a right-winger? You'd lose your mind.
Everyone should lose their mind.
Of course, but when Trump does it, MAGA goes, no, it's okay. I'm just like establishment media. I'm gonna just ignore every bad thing Trump does. Yeah. All right, be the person that you thought you hated. That's up to you. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.